Hey guys, welcome to my DIY channel. Today we're going to get rid of clover in the lawn without killing the grass. Very important. The product that we're going to be using today is Weed Be Gone. Okay, it actually says it right on. It says chickweed and clover, and it's by Ortho. Very easy to use. 1 ounce of this, and they give you a measuring cup and everything, to 1 gallon of water. Very simple. The surfactant, it's going to be 1 teaspoon, or it says 1 to 2 teaspoons. I think we're going to be brave and put 2 teaspoons of it in with 1 gallon of water and the Weed Be Gone. So we're going to mix that up. We're going to spray our lawn, and we're going to see how it works. After 2 to 3 weeks, the clover should be dead. So I got my sprayer right here. I'm just going to mix in both units using there's an actual ounce measurer inside the cup. It starts at ½ ounce and it goes to 1 ounce all the way up to 3 fluid ounces, depending on how many, how much of an area you have to do. So I got 1 ounce right now. Yeah, that's good. And I'm adding to the 1 gallon. Very simple. That's done. Okay, so we've mixed all our chemicals together in the sprayer. Give it a little swirl. Make sure it all mixes together. We're all pumped up and we're ready to spray. Okay guys, so that's it. We're done with the front and the back. It's finished. I have applied the Ortho Weed Be Gone with the clover, or chickweed and clover. Okay, you can get this anywhere at any home center or even Amazon. I'll leave a link below. And also the Southern AG Surfactant. Okay, there will be some people that say, well, can I use a Weed Be Gone without the surfactant? And absolutely, you could absolutely use the Weed Be Gone without it. The only thing the surfactant does, basically the leaves of the clover have like a wax coating on them, and when you spray it with water and Weed Be Gone, it kind of runs off. Like, did you ever wax your car and then spray water on it, and you get these little beads? And that's what happens when you apply the Weed Be Gone with just water. But the surfactant basically helps produce more of a uniform coverage and penetration. So it helps it out. I mean, I want to get rid of all the clover on my lawn. So I listened to a professional. He told me, use a surfactant. Make sure you do. It's only 2 teaspoons. It wasn't a lot of money. And, I'm giving it a shot. So I'm going to take some pictures. I'm going to take a before picture, which I already have. And I'm going to take a 2-week picture. And then I'm going to take a 3-week picture. And you'll see it right after this. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you did, like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Say hello. All right? Thanks.